think Republicans chose Mike Johnson to be House Speaker precisely because everyone would say, who? Yet every day, it seems we learn something new about the zealotry beneath his high-diddly-ho Ned Flanders exterior. We already knew Johnson spent most of the 2000s trying to block freedoms for LGBTQ people as an attorney for the Alliance Defending Freedom. According to CNN, while working with ADF, Johnson gave legal advice to and worked with an organization called Exodus that promoted so-called gay conversion therapy. And in 2008, he blamed homosexuality for the fall of the Roman Empire. Yeah, the whole Roman Empire. There's also new details about his work as a private lawyer prior to going into politics. In 2014, he was one of several attorneys representing the state of Louisiana in a case to block a mother from adopting her wife's biological son. That case became moot after the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage in 2015, which Johnson says he respects as a rule of law guy.
I respect the rule of law, but I also genuinely love all people, regardless of their lifestyle choices. This is not about the people themselves. I am a Bible-believing Christian.
Yeah, except that since being in Congress, Johnson has voted against federal recognition of same-sex marriage, sponsored a federal Don't Say Gay law like the one Ron DeSantis put in place in Florida, and partnered with Marjorie Taylor Greene herself on legislation to block gender-affirming care for transgender teens. Here he is on that topic just 4 months ago.
Contrary to what some of my Democrat colleagues believe, the scourge of radical gender ideology is very real.
The most vehemently anti-LGBTQ Republican politician since Mike Pence is now second in line to the presidency. As for the people who have to work with Speaker Johnson, during the fourth and final Speaker vote last week, Congresswoman Angie Craig of Minnesota used her vote to make a special shout out.
Craig.
Representative Angie Craig joins me now. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here. And, you know, you are a history maker. You are the first lesbian mom elected to Congress, and you had actually quite a legal battle in order to legally adopt your eldest son, and you actually helped establish the rights of LGBTQ couples in Tennessee. So you have a lot personally at stake in these issues. So I just want to ask you, what is your level of concern, fear, worry about what Mike Johnson might try to do legislatively to your community?
Well, first, let me say it's great to be with you. And more importantly, my wife absolutely loves you, Joy. So let me start by shouting it out here today as well. Look, we've been fighting people like Mike Johnson for the last 30 years, my entire adulthood. My wife and I, we have 4 wonderful sons. The youngest is 20 and the oldest is 26. And you're exactly right. We've battled this kind of homophobia and discrimination our entire adult lives. Sadly, I thought that the Republican conference was moving a little bit past it because I come from one of the swingiest districts in America, and guess what? They keep sending this lesbian mother of 4 to Congress. So Republicans in my district have moved past this kind of discrimination. And I don't know when Republicans here in Congress, and in particular Mike Johnson, are going to get the message that this is not something, this kind of discrimination and hate is just not something that the American people are moving toward. They're moving away from it.
You know, you make a good point, because there is a question about whether Republicans thought through what the impact of him, once people sort of know more about him, will be on their reelect. The Human Rights Campaign's president, Kelly Robinson, this is what she tweeted. She tweeted, Mike Johnson is someone who doesn't hesitate to scream his hatred for the LGBTQ plus community from the rooftops while introducing legislation that seeks to erase us from society and history. And then this was the kicker. Everyone who voted for him will have a stain on their record. Do you foresee people essentially using this in elections, not just his reelect, but every member that voted for him?
I think it really shows you exactly what the Republican conference has become. And the fact that my colleagues on a unanimous basis voted for someone who doesn't support the right to my family to even exist. The fact that they, on a unanimous basis, supported someone who supports a federal abortion ban, and voted and worked to overturn the 2020 election, I think it shows you exactly what the Republican conference has become. And I think on the topic of LGBTQ equality, I know my voters have moved past this discussion. It wasn't the fall of the Roman Empire. And when we got marriage equality in 2016, my wife and I had already been married in another state for many, many years. So it certainly hasn't been the fall of Minnesota either when we made same-sex marriage legal. And all of this is sort of coming around again for me because my first foray into any sort of public government lobbying for my own just field organizing, it was for the marriage equality battle in Minnesota all those years ago. And so, I really just worked 22 years in the private sector and woke up one day and said, you know what, we have a lot that we need to go fix and accomplish. And part of that was passing the Equality Act. And I just don't believe the American people are going to want to go backward on these topics at all.
And I think this is the challenge, right? Is that the American people in a majority, you are right. All the polls say that they don't want to go back. But Americans also didn't want to go backwards on abortion. And we have a Supreme Court that doesn't care what most Americans want. They rolled back abortion. And Clarence Thomas has indicated he would love to have an opportunity to also get rid of the right to have contraception. He would love to overturn marriage equality. And he would also love to overturn the Lawrence v. Texas case, which literally would allow states to criminalize same-sex couples. Are you concerned that maybe people on the Democratic side aren't taking the religious fanatics seriously, aren't taking Christian nationalists seriously when they say they are going to roll it all back?
Well, that's, of course, why in the last session of Congress, we felt so strongly about getting the Respect for Marriage Act across the finish line, because when the Dobbs decision came out, when this Supreme Court said precedent no longer matters, it should be a call for us all to take them very, very serious. I also, Joy, though, think that this is much like the Dobbs decision, a little bit like the dog that caught the car. If they accomplish anything close to this, I can't tell you the number of times I've had Republican constituents come up to me and say, look, I don't always vote for Democrats.
Right.
But I tell you what, my son is gay, or my daughter's a lesbian, or my granddaughter. And thank you for representing. Thank you for telling us openly, hey, my name is Angie, I have a wife, and we have 4 sons. And oh, by the way, let's go fix the damn roads and make healthcare more affordable. It's just, it's become something that is really meaningful back home in our district.
Well, Congresswoman Angie Craig, thank you so much for being here. Please tell your wife hello, and thanks for watching. We really appreciate you both. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Joy. You just did.
Thank you.